Well, hello. Here we are with part 2 of 4 of the Happy Hour collection from Glamlite. This week I worked on the Margarita palette, and we got some more things to talk about. Of course, again, here is the bottle. This is what it comes in. If you saw my first video, you know that this is covered in plastic. You take it off, your palette is inside. This one thankfully arrived whole. It's not broken. And unlike that last one, there's no weird white residue on it. So it comes in this. And now, I've been using this palette, and for whatever reason, this seems to be the least liked Happy Hour palette. It's also been on sale, I believe, for a really long time, and I think it's currently at like $15 for this palette. So when I purchased this palette, I actually got it for $25, which is a sale price for the usual $35 these cost. Let's open it up. I think, like before, let's start with the positives for this palette right here. It's definitely a great summery palette. Very pretty colors. They're so, unlike the purple palette, you could do a minimum of 5 to 6 looks with this palette. It's super summery, and I think one of the reasons it may not have been as well liked is because I believe this collection came out in the fall. It was supposed to be a fall collection, and to come out with these colors in September or October just doesn't really make sense. But now, as we are getting closer to the summer, this is such a wonderful palette to use, and there's so much variety. Again, this palette is quite small, it's very travel friendly, so it'd be a really good palette to take around. But once again, we're back to certain issues that I pointed out in the wine palette also exist in this one, and thankfully last night I was able to watch a couple other reviews because I wanted to see what other people were saying, and not just people who happen to have a Glamlite affiliate code, because I kind of began to see a pattern. Finally was able to see some people who were just, reviewers, people who were just like, I bought this palette, this is what I thought of it, I don't have a code, and neither do I. So I was so happy, because I saw this one video, which I think I'll put it down below as well, because I found this new YouTuber, and it seems like, I'm very interested in her channel right now, and she had some very good points to make, and she was having these same exact problems with this palette that I have had for the past week. So first thing, this entire row, this whole row, is fine. It's good. It works how I expect a palette to work, especially at a price point of $35, right? That's how much this usually costs. I don't know why, but pretty much any of the pinks just weren't working very well, and she was having the same issues where she was talking about a color like, say, this one, which is Pink Lemonade. It wants to bunch up on your brush, it wants to bunch up on your eyelid. I actually ended up using these 3 colors in a look. I'll insert that footage here. Hey yo, it's Friday. I'm working on the this Margarita Glamlite. I'm working my way through it for this Friday. I'm using, we're using these 3 pinks. Was it Tamarind, Pink Lemonade, and Watermelon? These 3 pinks. And applied Tamarind first, going in the corners with Watermelon. I kind of wanted to do a look like Allie Dawson. She does this really pretty, like, dark inner corner, dark outer corner, and then a shimmer in the middle. And it's gotten so patchy. I wasn't expecting it. I was just thinking, like, wow, I really like these colors so far. I really like how it's working. And then they got so patchy. So let's keep going. We'll speed round through this and see what's going on. As you can see with this formula, it's almost too soft. Like, it's almost like a clay. Like, just the way that it kind of does that. So at this point, it's not really eyeshadow, I think. It's more of an eye gloss. Let's see how this applies. So far this pink lemonade shade is looking exactly the same as everything else. I might as well, it all kind of muddled. I had tamarind, I had watermelon on there. It's all looking the same. None of it's really looking any different. Here we go. Does it shimmer? Can you see the shimmer? I don't know if you can even see the shimmer. Got it everywhere on my eyes. It's a gloss. These shimmer shadows so far have been gloss. As you could see, I think from, you know, like the footage, I mean, I'm not exactly sure how it might show up on camera, but in real life, to me, after having put on these 3 colors, it looked all the same. It was muddled. There wasn't any real, like, blending. It just wasn't blending very well. Another issue I wanted to bring up was that there aren't a lot of darker tones to really deepen up the look. I think strawberry and shot time are probably the deepest colors you could use in here to deepen a look, and even then it's mostly just strawberry. If we could have, I would have preferred to have removed, let's see, probably fresh pineapple. I don't really know what it's doing there. I don't think we need it. I would have removed fresh pineapple and included a darker color, either a dark blue, a dark teal. We could have done a darker brown, a brown that's darker than this, because then they could have gone with this, they could have gone with that, and you could have darkened any of these looks. In terms of my favorite shade, I would argue that the best shade in here, the one that performs the best, is Presidente and Tequila Gold. Those are probably definitely the top 2 best ones. If I had to put them on a shimmer scale, it would be Presidente, Tequila Gold, Fresh Pineapple, Spicy Jalapeno, and Blue Curacao. Then from there, probably Prickly Pear. I think it kind of got away with it because once applied to the eye, I was like, okay, it is bunching up. It's not working well, but at least it's a shade of color I don't think I have in my collection, and I've never seen on my eye, so I let it get away for that. But the worst color definitely in here is Pink Lemonade. It's got what she was also pointing to, it's almost like clay, like it bunches up, it rolls up. Something's wrong with it. Similar issues, I believe I tried to... There's some issues with blending and bringing the colors together. That's kind of off. I was really excited to use this palette. I think out of the 4, right now, this one called to me the most, because it also really reminds me of the Barbie palette from ColourPop, and I don't have that palette, and I wanted to use this one. I was like, well, if I have this one, I'll never need that Barbie one, right? As we know, the finger swatches don't really match what you might see in your eyes, but I will, for right now, show you guys, I think, my top 3 colors, just so you can see a little swatch. I'm sure there are other videos where you can see, you know, actual full swatches, but I'm going to swatch my 3 favorite, which was, like I said, we got Presidente, we got Tequila Gold, and then we got Fresh Pineapple. So we got the 3 right there, and they didn't bunch up. The way that they applied, and I was able to grab it onto my fingers, they do the same on the brush. You seen this? Oh my god. And that's what I expect. The same way that I, pick something up with my fingers, I expect with the brush. Oh god, look how good that looks! Look how good these 2 look, right? These 2 definitely the best in here. This one's more mid, but within the palette and so far of the Glamlite formula I've been trying, I haven't been having the best time with this Glamlite formula, and according to the videos I was watching, I did not know that Glamlite formula was very hit or miss. So in terms of, like, so far the only Glamlite palettes I've ever used was the red Icy palette, which all the shimmers in there except one were trash. In the last wine palette that you guys saw, I would maybe give the okay to 2 shimmer shades. There's definitely a lot more colors in this one that are a lot more passable. This is still not, this gold, this Fresh Pineapple is still not the best, shimmer shade, but in terms of what I've tried so far of the Glamlite formula, it's pretty damn good. I think so far of these 2, if you gave me this palette with a wine palette, I'd say give me this one. I also have today blue curacao or curacao, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, on my eyes. So I think I was surprised this one actually applied pretty well as well. So I want to swatch this one as well. This is the one I have on my eyes today. I thought it worked. It did a pretty damn good job. Like, look at that. As you know so far, as I know so far, these Glamlite swatches work a lot better on your hand. But I did apply these colors, obviously, onto my eyelids. And I was under the suspicion that maybe this formula just wasn't maybe for someone who had more mature eyes, eyelids with texture, but for this palette it doesn't seem half true, because look at that. Let me swatch the one I would say is the worst one. Let's see if I'm sure it'll swatch fine, because on hand swatches it seems to do just fine. I'll put it next to this one. Yeah, look at, okay. It's not as pizzazzy as these three, but on the hand, yeah, it's pretty fine. But on the eye, it's bunching up. Which reminds me, I don't know why, I don't think, because funnily enough, I don't think I had this issue with the wine palette, which was literally after half an hour of applying this to my eye, literally, within half an hour of applying this onto my eye, it started to, like, bunch up on my eye. Do you know what I mean? Like, I put down a concealer as my base, because I like to have bright, intense colors on my eyes, and I, you know, put my concealer base, usual one I use all the time for everything, and it started to almost, not immediately, but I remember looking in the mirror half an hour after one of my looks. I think it might have been with the pink look, and it was immediately already creasing and bunching up on my eyelid. Which, you know, eyeshadow does end up bunching and creasing on my eyelid, but that's not until after like 8 hours later, you know, almost like pretty much a full day worn of eyeshadow. This was immediately, and I was super surprised because I was not expecting it to not last that long, especially when this palette's supposed to go for $35. Overall, I'm starting to feel like Glamlite may not be the one for me, or at least this collection might not be. Some people were theorizing that, you know, this collection isn't up to their usual par, because I think a lot of people who had purchased this collection had already purchased the Michaela Glamlite collection, and they're like, this is not up to the same par, the same formula that was used for that Michaela collection. It doesn't feel the same. I was not expecting to have so many problems with this collection. Overall, would I recommend this collection? For this Margarita palette, I would say it's $15 right now. If I had bought this at $15, again, I don't think I'd be upset. I think it might be worth $15, and it's an okay, you know, you got at least half of them seem to work, right? You will probably need possibly a secondary. Again, this might be a secondary palette, because I think you might need another palette that has deeper tones, so you can really, you know, create that effect you might want. But at $15 right now that it's on sale on, I would recommend it. I think this palette gets a much higher rating, not much higher rating, but a higher rating than the wine palette. I think if I had to give a wine palette a rating, it'd probably be a 2.5 or 3 out of 5. Like, it was kind of meh, pretty forgettable, not the best formula. I could try to make it work, but it's like, why do I have to struggle so hard? I didn't have to really. No, this one wasn't as challenging, it wasn't as difficult. I'd probably give this more a 4 out of 5. It is definitely much higher on that list. I think my next palette will probably be that green palette, which I think is it's a Martini? Is it a Martini palette? And we'll see, maybe it might just be an issue with certain colors of the formula. Purple colors would carry, I believe, right? Red, because purple is red and blue. The pinks in this were the worst part of this palette, so I'm wondering if maybe it's issues with certain colors. And obviously with the green palette, it's yellow and blue, which was the colors that actually worked in this one. So I'm wondering if people like that green Martini palette because it's holding all the colors that work the best for this brand, or at least for this collection. But let me know down below what you guys feel about this palette. Did this palette work for you? Did you have issues with the same exact colors? Because I watched another review and she pointed out every single color that I did in this one. She's like, these are the ones I'm having issues with and these are the ones that work. And I'm like, oh my god, that is exactly the same. But here we go. Everybody have a great day. And let's see what this next week holds for this next week palette. Have a great day, everyone.